Hey guys, Brent Hull Build Show, talking today about windows, and we're going to install a window in a mock wall. Come join me. We're in the shop. We've got a 100-year window that we're putting into this mock opening. Now, so far, we've introduced this 3 months ago. We're getting incredible response from people all over the country asking to put these windows in, which is really exciting. But we're putting them into old houses, we're putting them into new houses, and so your conditions are gonna vary, okay? And I can't hit every condition, stucco and siding and brick and all these. I'm gonna try to generalize, okay, so these things, so don't hold me to, well, you showed me that detail, right? Give me a break. I'm gonna try to show you how this goes together. Should be a lot of fun. Now, we are using the zip system, right? This is the Huber zip board. It has its advantages, okay? I also like historic houses that have sheathing on the outside, so I'm not gonna get into all that. The first thing we need to do, though, is we need to flash our window, okay? And that's pretty standard. Now, we're gonna use a tape system, right, and a flex tape system to flash these windows. There are other ways you can do it. There's the liquid flashes now that are liquid applied that you kind of squeegee out onto your opening. There's old school metal, right, and bent metal and flanged metal and things like that that you can also use. I'm not gonna sit here and endorse this one's better than this one. We're just gonna kind of do some common practice. So the first thing we're gonna do is gonna flash this window. My guys, David and Jeremy, they cut a piece of flex tape over the size of the opening, and they're gonna take it and wrap it down the jamb, across the sill, and then back up the other side, right? So we're gonna go up 6 or 8 inches up the jamb on either side, but this will wrap over the sill, the lower part, and then we'll have another piece of tape that comes down over top of it. Remember, what we're trying to do is manage water, so we don't want to have anything where water can get in. So our tape coming down the side of it is going to keep water from coming into that sill. Okay, so we've flashed our opening, right? And that's important. That's an important detail. Now remember, historically, they didn't typically flash openings, right? They weren't as concerned about water because houses breathed, okay? Our window, okay, the way we make it is that we actually have a weight pocket, this big box here, okay? Now the good thing about this big box is that it's very stable and very strong, it's airtight, and we're actually gonna pick this window up and put it in this opening. We're gonna level it out, and we're gonna shim it and then nail it and screw it, okay? So we're really locking it together. Now that's different from new production windows, which will have a metal flange or a nailing flange or something plastic that sits here that you bend out or attach to your frame with screws or some other method. I'm not gonna say ours is better, although ours is better, but this is a more secure way, we believe, of attaching the window to the frame. It's very secure, locks everything together, and doesn't rely on plastic. It's really locking it in. But we're gonna pick up this window and put it in that opening. Our window's in, right? It looks beautiful. You're not done, okay? You now have to make sure it is square and level, right? And so my guys are gonna put a level on this on the inside and the outside, and then we're gonna take shims and kind of lock it in there, make sure it's all in the right place. We are now going to flash it in. Now again, old house versus new house. Let's pretend this is a new house. We're gonna take that flex tape wrapping and we're gonna wrap over the top of this, right? We do that because we don't want water coming in, we don't want air coming in, right? So that really creates a very tight kind of surface there. We're now gonna tape this off to flash it in. Now, if you're in an old house, you can actually take metal flashing and it would run up the wall and lip over top of this, and then your siding or whatever your material would go there. So Couple different ways of doing it. We're going to tape ours in. Okay, so we've got our window in. We've now flashed it, right? We did the 2 legs up the side, did the one across the top so the water can get out, right? So depending on what your wall is or what the exterior cladding of your house is, it's either masonry or siding, right? Masonry, then you have what's called a brick mold, okay? Now the brick mold is something that goes, you know, right here, and we've got, David has put these little lines on there to show our reveal, right? Whether it's siding or whether it's masonry, and then our masonry would come in right here, right? So this would get cut off and our masonry comes sit right up against this mold. It's called a brick mold because a brick will butt right to it. Now, you'll also know that this is 1 1/8 inch, okay? And what happens is that many of you are asking for screens and storms, right? Well, the screens and storms actually hang and sit inside here so that this reveal, our storm and screen actually are the same width, 1 1/8 inch, so that it all hangs nice and tight together. If we're going to do siding, we're actually taking a furring strip and putting the siding on a furring strip. Now, cedar is actually really easy to get, like cedar lath or whatever you can get at your lumber yard. And we are putting these, you know, every 12 inches, like a typical nailing pattern, all across the wall, so that the siding, when it sits on top of here, isn't stuck up tight against that zip board. It actually can breathe behind there. This will keep the paint from coming off your siding. So again, new house, we like these furring strips like this that we can nail to so that air can move up behind the siding. If you're on an old house, you don't have that problem. Your house is breathing wonderfully, and you don't need to worry about that. A beautiful 100-year window, you know, some of the things that we think make it great, right, is we've got a sloped sill. We've got the steps in the sill so that water will not actually run up inside of it. It's very important that our sill go on the inside of here so that when this window comes down and locks, there's actually an air stop and water stop on the inside that stops all that. Notice how thick this sill is. There's a drip edge in here so that the water will drip off. It's a beautifully designed window, historically appropriate, historically beautiful, so that it'll last 100 years. That's really the goal. The other thing I love about our windows is we got this traditional glazing putty. The glazing putty is a sacrificial coating, right? It is something that can be replaced. If the water gets behind it, it'll lift up and fall off, and then you can put it back in, as opposed to what they're doing with a lot of new old windows is they're using a wood stop, or they're using an outside piece of wood and an inside stop that's removable. The problem with that is if water ever gets in there, it rots out and it actually destroys your window. So they were smart the way they built windows 200 years ago. Using that glazing putty really does make a big difference and will help your window last longer. Okay guys, so 100-year window, how to install, right? The flashing, there's a number of different ways to do the flashing. If you're old school, you can do the metal pans. If you're new school, you're building a new building, the zip tape and those flexible tapes certainly are appropriate, certainly work very well. But now you've got it in, you've got it flashed. There's nothing that keeps this window from lasting 100 years. It's a great product. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Hull Millwork, Hull Homes. Sign up for the newsletter. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I'm Brent Hull. Thanks for watching.